You or a loved one been injured by some fucknuggets, reckless driving, a tumble at your shitty job, or some other form of dumb shit outside of your control? Well, fear not, because today's episode is sponsored by a lawyer. Lone Star Injury Attorneys is an award-winning personal injury law firm that achieves maximum results for its injured clients. Max the Axe is not just a lawyer, but a hardcore Mises Caucus libertarian and also a big supporter of this show and all of our bullshit. Max is the best personal injury lawyer in Texas, but don't judge him by his occupation or location. Max is an avid defender of liberty and justice in whatever state you got fucked in. If you've been injured and your ass needs saving, go with the pros at Lone Star Injury Attorneys. Visit LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com or Google Max the Axe. Consultations are free and you don't pay a single dime unless you win. Once again, go to LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com and get your ass covered. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. It's later than usual and even later than I intended because I made the mistake of inviting Craig back on, and we're going to get to all that and aliens and Jews and so much more on tonight's episode. Before we do that, we got to roll the thing, play the little intro thing where you go and share it with all your friends and all your enemies and your mom, and then we're gonna get weird. We're gonna get late night weird. It's been a bit.
It's been something.
Craig doesn't know he's on the air. All right, it's going great so far. Let's get weird.
All I ask is, if we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do.
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
But ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that. I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves or possesses weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth. I remember that with Matthew Smotz. We are still here.
We have to say yes to socialism.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
All right. It is a big club, and you are not in it, but you're in this club. And if you'd like to get deeper in this club, you can do so. It's been a hell of a day and a hell of a week, and the snow is like 6 foot deep currently, and I've been dealing with mortgages and lawyers and legal bullshit all day, and just had to squeeze one of these in tonight because I'm not sure what tomorrow holds, as none of us ever are. But if you would like to support this show, give me a little bit of your money and get a little bonus content, including today's after party, go on over to patreon.com/The System Is Down. People like Michael Marks, Scott Gerhardt, Maxwell, Jennifer, Brian, RJ, JC, Justin Savoy, Adam Choit, Donald Villa, Ozma Taz, Buck Shank, which is his legal Christian birth name, Level Zero, Vanzot Media, Rick Duran, Craig DaCosta, Ryan Mortensen, John Oder, Matt Trent Campbell, Mary Rome, John Barnhouse, William Wells, and so many others. Go on over to patreon.com/The System Is Down, where you'll get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more content. It used to be weekly. We're getting there. We're getting back to it soon, hopefully, but there might be some delays in the getting back to it. But weekly, hopefully, to return soon. Patreon.com/The System Is Down. Support the show, get all the shit, and be a better citizen in these trying times. Now, I am, as was mentioned before we got going here, I have a guest today, and I don't even know if it counts anymore as a guest. He used to be on the show. I fired him once, and now he's back.
I don't think you fired me. We just parted ways. I think I got my mic to work, but it's not working the way I want. But I'm not echoing.
It seems to be fine sounding. Yeah, it seems to be good.
Yeah, I just move some stuff around, and I only hear myself in one ear, but that's okay.
If there was any question as to why I fired Craig the last time, this 20-minute late episode should refresh your memory. Now, that being said, let's introduce our guest today, which is Craig. What's up, Craig?
And for the record, I did know that I was live and my mic was on. I just didn't give a shit because you always talk over my videos and shit when you come on my show and unmute your mic and just talk and stuff. You're like, oh, I can unmute my mic. And you say, I have this thing. I don't know if it's called a show, but it's like
a TV program.
It's like I record myself for myself mostly.
Yeah.
And
mom.
And mom sometimes too.
Yeah.
Until I say the bad words, and then, are you drinking wine?
I am, because I'm classy and it's late.
Oh, all right. We're like the Beanie Brothers today.
We are, in honor of Tim Pool. God rest his soul. But we're not going to get to that story just yet. Tim Pool died. Yeah, sorry.
Shit.
Yeah, it was a real bummer. Now, for those that don't know, for any new stragglers, Craig is we share parents, and we are both males.
We coexist under the same parenthood.
That's right. Craig is unfortunately my brother. Craig, how is this show? What's the name of it, and where can people find it? And what is it you do? What would you say you do around here?
The show is called the Break the Bell Podcast, and this is actually my episode of the Break the Bell Podcast for this week because I was like really lazy. And last night I got home late and I was like, I'm not going to do it. And then you text me today and you're like, hey, you want to come on my show? And I'm like, well, I have to do my own show. But
then we lazily joined forces.
Yes. I'm just like, that's actually perfect. I have to literally. And then I was like, what are you talking about? And you're like, you don't even have to prepare. I'm like, even fucking better. It's like this is. So if this is on my platform, this is the Break the Bell Podcast episode right now. But it is. But this is the Break the Bell Podcast just for the 2 people that might listen.
This is like the Break the Bell Podcast, but if you did zero research, and also I did zero research, and I did.
Okay,
we run a much
enough.
more loose ship around here. We're on this show. If you're new, if you happen to be the 0 people that are new here, go follow me at tsidpod.net or .tv. That's what it is. Or no, the system is down .tv at tsidpod on Twitter. Okay, so we talk about news, and we do it, and we give it all the due credit that it deserves, all the due research that it deserves, and mostly just laugh at the end of the world. As I said, are 5 to 27 feet of snow on the ground. The apocalypse feels closer than it ever has. So we're going to talk about some psyops and some things that are going on in the world. And the first psyop that I want to get into is Stanley. What? Stanley Cups. It's just it's fake.
We had this discussion over Christmas time.
We did.
We
did. That's why I thought it was worth bringing up. Stanley is a psyop, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure who but Mr. Stanley is benefiting from this, and Starbucks. But people are fighting over cups. And I know there's a lot of dumb trends that go on in the world, but like teenage girls, including both of ours, are clamoring for a $45 to $60 cup.
Trust me, I told my daughter she was retarded when. Well, she first asked for one. I'm like a Stanley cup. She's like, yes. So like the thermos brand, Stanley thermos brand cup. That you drink coffee out. Yes.
Yep.
Why? Why do you want that? Because everybody. Why is this a fucking trend? And why are they?
How does it start? I genuinely want to know how does it start? Stanley is not new. It's not a new thing. But for some reason, all at once, all the white bitches are like, I need this thing. Why? Where did it start? Where did it come from? And how can I get some of that advertising action?
I don't know what, like, there's some witchcraft going on in, like, marketing industry these days. It's just like, you will like this thing that's been around for the last 50 years, and you will love it, and it's the cool thing to do. And all the white bitches are like, oh, I gotta have this thing that has been, like, Walmart standard cup for probably the last 50 years until this year. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, this is a Stanley Cup. It's like, I've got like a 80-ounce Stanley thermos, like antique store.
Yeah.
That thing's got to be worth
classic.
like $5,000 right now with
One
this
would
trend going
assume,
on.
based on the trend here, but yeah, like we've got people waiting outside of Target to get the latest Stanley limited edition Starbucks cup,
Jesus Christ.
and fighting over them once they get into the store. Like,
They did it? They did it. They smoked it.
that's it. It's a pink fucking cup. Like $50, $60 cup.
She got two. She got two of them.
Yep. Be ashamed of yourself. That is the moral of this story. Be ashamed. Whatever, I don't know whichever witch is behind this, but they won, and you did not. You got a cup. A cup
Yep.
that says Stanley really small on it. There's nothing special about this cup. Yes, it keeps your water cold and your coffee hot, but otherwise it is... I mean, not otherwise. That is the function of such a cup, no matter what brand. It is a cup functioning as a cup.
For $45. It's the Hydro Flask of 2023.
Yeah. Which
I don't even...
I had to be told what that was, too. That's how much,
I did
like... I don't keep up on these things because I'm not a 12-year-old girl. But
the funny thing is, 3 years ago when Hydro Flasks were a thing, my daughter at the time made fun of all the white bitches that were all about the Hydro Flasks. And then this year, she's like, I want a Stanley Cup. I'm like, you realize that is the Hydro Flask of this year? And she's like, yeah, I know. Oh, so all the shit you gave them 3 years ago, you're fine with being that person now?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. And if she had bought a Hydro Flask 3 years ago, she would still want a Stanley Cup because
Oh, yeah.
$50 cups are all the rage. But speaking of stores being flooded by psychos, there was an incident in Miami this last week. Did you hear about it, Craig?
I saw the headline last week, and I started to watch the video and got distracted, but I was interested in it. And then I'm not interested enough to go back and watch it until you brought it up. I was like, oh, yeah, that was a thing. So I'm glad there's somebody to chat with about it.
We're here. From Newsweek.com, so you know it's legit. Miami Mall, quote, creature video goes viral. So there was an incident at the Miami Mall. Allegedly, it was just some teenagers that were, like, shooting off fireworks and then getting into fights. And that was it. That was the official story. And then 200 cops, 200 cop cars swarmed this fucking mall for a couple fireworks and a brawl.
Yes, as cops do. It must have been a really slow night in Miami at the time because there's not a lot of crime in Miami. So
if you watch
like,
Dexter, you know that there's way more important things to be going on that they could be doing than stopping the firework assassins. But there was one video in particular. You can see it here in the top right corner where people claim that they saw a creature of some sorts, and there are reports, or not reports, but there are people who are making videos saying that they saw something that wasn't just a bunch of hoodlums yucking it up. So we'll get to the video here of the actual creature in a moment, but let me see what I have first. Oh, here it is. No, sorry, that was the wrong clip. That is
I don't
actually
think that's the right video.
that's Madonna. Anyway,
That was great. That was great, but I don't think that's the right one.
This is the main clip, the only clip that I have found that people are purporting that it is something beyond a human walking. Let's see what you think. It's right there in the middle, up at the bottom of those steps. It's kind of just like a white blur. Do you see it?
Uh-huh.
What do you make of that so far?
I don't know. Without like really thinking about it, I would think it was just like smoke drifting by.
Yeah, it barely looks like a person or anything.
Fireworks.
Yeah. So there's I think this one's slowed down. That's that enhanced. They click the enhanced button and they got this, which still kind of just looks like a messy white blob of, like, it doesn't look like a human in this one, but it looks like we got the world's worst camera footage here of something and clicked enhance on it. So this is the image that we are discussing, and police have come out and said that that was just a person walking, and it's just whatever, a blur.
If that's a person walking, they are like 11 feet tall.
Well, that's the claim. Have you heard any of the people's claims that were there?
I did. Well, that's what intrigued me on it was there was trending Nephilim in Miami. I was like, huh, what is this? What is this? I haven't heard that term in a while.
Yeah, you're talking my language. None of these guys straight up say what it is, which is obviously Nephilim giants that come from the inside of the hollow/flat Earth. But yes. We won't play this whole thing. This is like 9 minutes long, but this guy gives a bit of his recount of the evening.
My name is Fitz. I was there at the Bayside Mall with my family, and we all saw exactly what happened. Don't pay attention to a lot of the videos that are out there. I feel like a lot of people are trying to use this for clout. But what happened, we all saw what happened, and it's pretty serious. It's been a few days, and our whole family's processing it, but I think we've kind of accepted that we were a part of this weird experience and moment. So basically what happened was I was there with my brother Brian, my sister, and my nephew. We were looking for shoes for my nephew, and then we see a whole crowd of people outside the store just running out in a direction. So as soon as you saw it, we
speed it up a bit.
Oh shit, what's going on? So we immediately ran out with our nephew.
Now keep in mind, just the recounting of his story. As somebody who likes to believe in this stuff, just pay attention to his recounting of this, because he just said he grabbed his nephew and ran for it.
And we picked him up and we ran out and we all the crowd. And then about a few seconds later, as soon as we started running, my nephew, he's autistic, so he was pointing behind us and he was saying blanky, which he'll usually say whenever he feels unsafe or scared. And he was pointing behind us. So me and my brother, we look behind us, and then we see these 3, 9, 10-foot tall creatures. I'm not going to say aliens. Everyone keeps saying it's aliens. I'm not saying aliens because I don't know what it was. None of us really knew. All of us stopped in our track. We, a whole bunch of people were pointing at it. There were other people running. There was a crowd. As soon as it made itself more apparent, it looked like it was glitching, not like a computer pixelation, but like a wavy glitch. And whatever maybe was covering them had, unveiled or whatever. It looked like a glitch, man. It like a weird glitch in the Matrix or whatever. And then you could see it in its full form, all 3 of them. And then, they were all black. You saw eyes, and you could faintly see like lips. But, I was about 20 feet away.
He grabbed the kid, took off running, and then he was 20 feet away from this thing.
It must have been taking really large steps.
Or he must have been taking really small running steps.
Or he was running in the wrong direction.
That could be.
Obviously, everybody gave it distance, right? And, they're tall. So we all just looked at them. They were just standing there. And the thing that was a little bit weird, but it was clearly observing us. It was sentient, right? Or whatever. I don't know. But it was aware of us. It looked at us, the whole crowd. And then as soon as it started walking with its big legs, it started
So it hasn't started walking yet. He's only 20 feet away from this thing. He didn't see it to begin with to only get 20 feet away. He saw a crowd of people running, and he joined them and started running. His autistic nephew said blanky, and so he, I guess, turned around and ran back because he's only 20 feet away and making out all these very specific things while all this chaos and commotion is going on and everybody's swarming.
I don't know. I want to believe this. I really do. I truly want to believe this. The one thing that stands out to me is it doesn't matter how dangerous of a situation is. Somebody always gets a fucking cell phone out and records it, no matter how every mass shooting and stuff. It's just oh, somebody's shooting. Let's record this with our phone instead of running away.
I can I think that I would be terrified enough that I wouldn't think to get a shot of it, but
you want it, but people are retarded.
If it's a crowded mall, there's got to be somebody that's 40 feet away who feels even more completely safe and secure to stand there and stare at it that would have whipped out their phone at some point.
Right.
Especially if it's like towering above everybody. There should have been somebody
Or
who
somebody's
got
always
something.
recording at some point of time, so somebody had to have got a kind of a clip of this.
Did the
I
mall
mean,
not have security cameras either?
Well, I mean, that's
Or is it
true
like
as
the
well.
Pentagon where they don't need them?
Maybe they shut them off right at that moment.
Like Epstein.
Like
yeah.
the Pentagon. Speaking of PSYOP, this plays into this. I watched a movie last night called Patriots Day. It's about the Boston bombing. Speaking of PSYOP, and I don't know how much that was like dramatized. What do they call it? Where they have free reign to kind of like throw in as much bullshit as they want into a true story to make it fit the script.
Like improv?
No, just like the director has like they have a term for it. I can't think of it, but pretty much he has this flexibility to kind of like make a story happen by tying in the pieces. So I don't know how much of this was actually true and how much was like fictional dramatization of it, but in this situation they were like they found the guys by like getting everybody's cell phone footage and like all the security footage of all the stores all the way around. That was a bomb blowing up and like taking out people's legs, and there was still enough. So like there was enough people that had their phones out at the time that they picked up this guy on the cameras. So you're telling me, yes, maybe when it's dangerous, when they find out it's dangerous, they're not like, hey, I'm going to record this. But before they realize that, you got to know in that crowd, there's at least 40 people that are recording something at some point, and some clip would have got picked up on it. Like
and this guy, even if he was like in flight mode, he stopped and turned around. Surely somebody else had this. Like, if it didn't seem that immediately dangerous that that you felt like you could stop and turn around, somebody would have whipped out a phone, certainly. But we do have plenty of people whipping out phones in the aftermath and potentially just making things up. And I want to say to a good friend, Heffalumps here, she said, Dan is ruining my fantasy. Yes, I know. I want it to be...
What happened to you?
I want it to be true. And I am, like, I don't know... If it's true or if it's not true, something's amiss here. Like, there's still the question of why 200 cop cars for a little brawl, a teenager brawl in the mall. That I would need some explaining. But let's watch a bit of this.
Because they try to film this. This shit is so crazy. I'm posting this, and I want y'all to repost, save this video before it gets taken down. I was in town. And we were shopping at the mall, and we noticed a lot of kids there. It wasn't a real big deal at first until they got to arguing and shoving, and then like weapons got brought in, and they started fighting, running all over the mall, chaos just all over the place. So we thought we heard gunshots, but it turns out that was actually fireworks. But either way, that caused everybody to start rushing for the doors. People was leaving stuff behind. I mean, just dragging their kids. It was just complete fucking chaos, man. Anyway, so as we running, we look back and we noticed some weird shapes taller than me. I'm 6'2", shadowy, dark, solid shapes. Not human, I promise you, these is not human. I mean, it made the hair stand up on my skin. And shit, we just booked it for the doors after that, man. I can't explain what that was. I can't say that was aliens, but I can say that was not human. It was not human. And they, online, I don't know if they're trying to cover this stuff up, but they...
Now, there was another guy who had a similar video that I watched, and then it said that it was already debunked because that guy posted on his or his TikTok or something that, like a follow-up saying, no, I was just trolling, I'm just giving you shit. But it was just as believable as these are. So, I don't know.
The PSYOP is this. Maybe they are the PSYOP.
Who?
Like, let's put this shit all over
the people
the
trying to
interwebs.
convince us that they're aliens?
Yeah, and see who believes it and who doesn't believe it. There wasn't actually something there that we're supposed to or not supposed to believe. That's the big conspiracy. The big conspiracy is that this is all over the internet. Because if this guy's like, oh, I'm going to say this before they take it out. It's still there. It's still, we just watched it. It's still fucking there. It's all over the internet.
Doesn't seem that dangerous.
Everybody's talking about it. If it was a cover-up, is Twitter flagging this yet?
If it was a cover-up, they'd cover it up.
Is Facebook flagging this yet as misinformation or anything? Because that's pretty big misinformation if it's not true. We can't say, still to this day, even though there's so much fucking proof that certain medical elements stuck in your body cause adverse effects, because that's misinformation. Even though there's so much proof that it is happening, you still can't say it, or you get flagged on Facebook or on YouTube. But this is like,
and definitely on TikTok where it originated.
This has the potential to cause mass panic, like literal mass fucking panic. And it's not getting flagged as misinformation, even though it's been debunked already. There's no Facebook thing popping up saying, hey, you can't talk about this because this could potentially lead to like mass chaos and mass hysteria. It's not there. So the real conspiracy is this being allowed all over Facebook, just to see how people react to it, just to see how people respond to it, or believe it or don't believe it. Hey, let's see. Let's just see. Let's let this video play out and see how many people go hysterical over it, because this could be fun.
Yeah. And as JC said, never trust men with TikToks, and he's absolutely spot on with that. Now we are. If you had told me going into the year 2024, if you asked me like what kind of psyops would be expected in the year, it would have been beyond me to think aliens, even though we've seen them like every 3 months or so whenever Biden fucks up. So the real question is, what's going on with Biden these days? And I don't know, and I don't really care. Something to keep an eye on.
I had saw somebody, can't remember who, some high political analyzer say that he is convinced that Biden, which I've said this since Biden took over office, but he's convinced that Biden is going to drop out probably midsummer, when it's too late to really pull in somebody or like actually nominate somebody. I saw somebody that like a former White House guy or something like that was like, you know what, this is what's going to happen, and I fully believe that.
Yeah. JC also says the week the Epstein list was supposed to drop, suddenly there's a bunch of wild stories flooding the timeline. Yes. And also, if you had told me on my bingo list for 2024 that Disney would shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over again, I would have still not been surprised, because that's just par for the course. Because according to dailymail.co.uk, so you know it's legit, Star Wars director, speaking of aliens, Star Wars director Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy says it's about time a woman shaped a film for the franchise. New director. So Star Wars director, I just said her name, I'm not saying it again, has declared it's about time a woman shaped the film, whatever. The Pakistani-Canadian filmmaker, 45, is set to become the first woman and the first person of color to direct a feature film for the franchise. Sharmeen made her name as an Oscar-winning documentarian before going on to direct 2 episodes of the Ms. Marvel series that nobody watched. And Elon Musk had some things to say about this.
So she was making documentaries, and then they're like, you know what, we want her for Marvel.
Yeah, she made a couple documentaries, and then she made a couple episodes of the least watched show, or one of the least watched shows on Disney Plus.
It doesn't even matter that it was the least watched show. The fact that Marvel, and what does that say about Marvel when they're like, you know what? No, it would be perfect for this fucking thing.
It's the same thing.
No, I understand that, but it's like, I know this probably is going to be a flop anyway, but do you know who'd be perfect for it? It's that person that's been making documentaries. Mm-hmm. What's their bar at this point? Because Marvel is the original Marvel Avengers, 15 years was just like setting the bar so fucking high.
Yeah. From Iron Man to the Avengers, literal endgame.
Yes. And then when that ended, they're like, you know what? We can't top this. Fuck it. Let's get a documentarian to direct our next thing. And then Star Wars was like, she was so great in that miserable flop, we're going to get her for the next Star Wars because it's Disney too.
That's right. That's where we're at. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with her race or skin color, but we will insist that it does if Elon Musk thinks it's a bad idea. Because Musk supports, this is from themessenger.com, so you know it's legit, Musk supports call for shareholder lawsuit against woke Disney. A conservative blogger decried the fact that Charmin Obaid Chinoy will be the first female director of a Star Wars franchise film. Musk tweeted, agreement, which of course makes him
Nazi fags.
Now, Elon Musk has endorsed a new backlash against the Walt Disney Co. Over efforts to diversify its workforce. And, is it not diverse enough? Has that not been their entire thing that's been going so well for the last 5-10 years? It's
Well, the problem is he's got a great fucking point. As much as I hate to admit it, he's got the shareholders, their whole purpose of holding shares is to make fucking money. And now everything...
You haven't even let me get to the shareholders part. You're commenting on what we're about to read.
It was in the title.
Oh.
It was the shareholders lawsuit.
This is the big to-do, that everybody thinks that Elon Musk is a racist and a misogynist because this woman is a Pakistani woman. So when Alex at Europa Actual on Twitter said, at some point, Disney shareholders need to file a class action lawsuit for breach of its fiduciary duties. After several years of repeating the same failures, I think it's reasonable to argue that Disney has officially decided to put its ideology ahead of its shareholders. To which Elon Musk said, yes, this is getting ridiculous. And that proves that he hates her because of her race and her womanhood.
Yes. It does. It absolutely does. And that's...
Or it could be that they've had flop after flop after flop and just tanking every single thing in the last 2 to 3 years. Every Star Wars thing, every Marvel thing, every new Disney creation, it's all just trash. And at some point, the shareholders have a reason to be mad when Disney is clearly making decisions that are not based on their best interest, the shareholders' best interest, but it's based on ideology.
Well, the problem is that these corporations are the ones that aren't in with the ESG stuff are they're being held hostage by the ones that are, like the BlackRocks and shit like that are making the scorecards and stuff. That's like, if you aren't in support of this social environmental social, what I don't know what the G stands for, this movement, if you're not making it's kind of like Bud Light with the tranny on Bud Light and how they lost billions of dollars. And do you think the shareholders were happy about that? They're like, at least we are inclusive of that Dylan Mulvaney or whatever that dumbass's name was. At least we're inclusive. We're perfectly fine losing billions of dollars of profits, which is what shareholders
governance
shareholders
environmental social governance.
There you go. Shareholders primarily hold shares for the profits, and when corporations are more concerned about being inclusive, which I'm all for, like companies not being dickheads, that's fine. But when you're like, you know what, we're going to have this director chick be this documentarian be the director because she's Pakistani and she's a woman, not because she's good at anything, and we know there's a good chance it's not going to fucking make any money, that's fine, but because she's a Pakistani woman, that's fine. The shareholders, if I was a shareholder, I'd look at that and be like, what the fuck, like, why am I even investing in your company? Like, I invest in your company to get a return of money, not to get a return of moral freaking happiness or whatever, like this gushy feeling that we did something morally sound. No, I did it to make a return on that. So yes, they have every right, and they should fucking sue these corporations because they're blowing their money on this stupid bullshit. And are you telling me there's not a woman out there that's not a documentarian that might have a little more clout?
No, there was just this one.
Oh, that was
this was it. Fake super chat from the lovely Kate Paris says, chat, I listen, Craig. I'm people. I think that was in response to you saying that nobody listens to your show. But that reminds me that fake super chat, get your fake super chats in. If you have something that you'd like us to read and make fun of, put in all caps, fake super chat, because we're not allowed to take the normie super chats, because those are only for channels that YouTube doesn't hate, that are watched by people that YouTube doesn't hate, and they hate all of us, so they don't let us make money on their platform. But here is the new director of the next Star Wars movie and her thoughts on men. Here we go.
What is the balance of activating a force for change, but also trying to permeate that patriarchy, that power structure? And is that a part of the calculation of your art as well? And what's been the reaction to that?
Oh, absolutely. I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable. Not you, just
not you.
Not you.
Point taken. Point taken.
But it is important to be able to.
Did you say something?
I said, can you pause it?
I can.
Who is the primary?
I was gonna say
of Star Wars movies.
It's a good thing only chicks like Star Wars, right?
Chicks
it's definitely
only go to
not
Star
like
Wars because
pudgy
they're
white dudes.
Yeah, they're white nerd buddies, or their white nerd boyfriends force them to go to them, and they're like, I wanna try to like what my nerdy boyfriend likes, so I'm gonna watch this. And usually it's like, yeah, it was great, honey, it was great. I watched that '70s show. I know how it works. The girls never want to go watch Star Wars.
They will now.
So,
now that it hates its entire demographic, now it's going to get an all new demographic, and girls are going to like Star Wars.
Obviously. Well, the reason why females didn't like it in the first place was because this brooding patriarchy that was monopolized the Star Wars industry, and now that she has broke through that glass ceiling, females will feel comfortable enough and safe enough to go see a Star Wars film.
Yep.
It's kind of, again,
Finally.
back to Bud Light. Again, who primarily was the drinkers of Bud Light? It was redneck white dudes.
Trans women.
When you come out and you're like, fuck all the redneck white dudes, we don't care that you're conservative. Here, look at this ad of this trans person. And then all the redneck white dudes were like, fuck that shit, we're not going to drink your Bud Light. And they're like, oh, why are we losing profits?
Right.
Well, because you gave a big fuck you to your key demographic.
Your entire demographic.
There are ways to be inclusive without saying fuck you to your entire demographic.
Yeah.
Into the eyes of a man and say, I am here, and recognize that. And recognize that I am working to bring something that makes you uncomfortable, and it should make you uncomfortable because you need to change your attitude. And it's only when you're uncomfortable, when you're shifty, when you have to have difficult conversations, that you will perhaps look at yourself in the mirror and not like the reflection. And then say, maybe there is something wrong with the way I think, or maybe there is something wrong with the way I am addressing this issue.
Who is she referring to? Just if you're a man, you should feel bad about yourself. You should look in the mirror and hate yourself. And I hope that every movie that I make, all I want is for you to go to the movie theater to see the blockbuster that makes you say, God, I suck. I'm just a real piece of shit. And then go home and buy it on DVD so you can live out the rest of your days hating yourself more than you already do because you're a fucking Star Wars nerd. I would also like to point out that all my Star Wars tattoos, they were all acquired long before any of this shit happened, and now I'm embarrassed to show them. If I had Bud Light tattooed across my forehead, I would be almost less embarrassed than I am right now.
Now, even if that's how she felt, do you think before coming out with whatever movie you're coming out with, you should say, like, maybe you did make it to make men feel uncomfortable, but do you think you should come out and be like, you know what, you're not going to like this movie? Like, to me, my initial reaction is, I'm probably not going to go fucking watch that movie because she already told me I'm not going to like it. Why would I go watch it?
I didn't make this for you. I made this because I hate you, and I hope that you hate yourself after it. Like,
yeah,
great.
Maybe make it like a spoiler, like hey,
Surprise
this
us
is
a
just
little bit.
typical. It's kind of like a Rogue One. It's like, oh, this is gonna be a great like Star Wars film, and you go watch it, and it's like that wasn't really a fucking Star Wars film at all. That kind of blew actually.
Rogue
But we
One
went
was a
and
Star
watched
Wars
it.
film. It was closer than most Disney stuff, but I
Now,
still have
yes.
my beefs.
But at the time, it was like, this is not a Star Wars film. But they played it up as a Star Wars film, so you went and saw it, and then you're like, afterwards, you're like, why did I go see this? But you already spent the money. Now they're telling you, you're not going to like this. Instead of saying, hey, this is a typical Star Wars movie.
Well, this
us
interview
going and
wasn't
watching it.
specifically about Star Wars. This was like something that the internet dug up from a couple years ago or something.
Oh.
So it's not like
Well.
she's not yet doing these press junkets and saying, I hate you and you should hate you too. Come watch Star Wars. But give it a couple months. We'll report back on it when it gets to that point.
Right.
If they weren't, in an act of desperation, let's say, Star Wars. So Disney, this is from bountyandcomics.com, so you know it's legit. Disney officially reveals their new film is called The Mandalorian and Grogu as title of Dave Filoni's Star Wars film.
That's not even an original title.
That's not even a title. That's like, what movie do you want to go see? Oh, that Mandalorian and Grogu movie? Oh, what's the name of it? It's called Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, it sounds like a joke. It sounds like a joke.
Sounds
and
like a woman came up with that name.
Yeah.
A Palestinian woman.
I don't think this is her film. I think she's probably doing the Rey film or something. But
God.
yeah, of course. But this one, like, just the title bugs the shit out of me because it's just like the only thing that's even come close to working as far as Disney branching out and exploring new territory. The beginning of The Mandalorian, people got excited because it was a new thing, and the first episode ended by saying, we've got this baby Yoda, and the internet exploded. And then for 3 seasons, I think now, it's been like, definitely, if they were bringing in a baby Yoda and then bringing in Luke Skywalker, spoiler alerts, bringing in Luke Skywalker, bringing in all these different tie-ins, there's so much to it. Surely they had a plan. And then in the last season, it feels more than ever like the same as the sequel trilogy that they started, had a couple fun ideas, and had no plan or anywhere to go with it. And so titling it this makes me feel like they're just like, we literally have nothing. What did the people like? They like The Mandalorian and Grogu. What are we going to make? The Mandalorian and Grogu. What are we going to call it? The Mandalorian and Grogu, because that is all that we have done even close to right so far.
Now, be it the directors, whether female or Pakistani or white and male, I don't fucking care. Marvel and Star Wars both started out fantastic. They continued fantastic. They were on a fantastic path, and then they oversaturated the entire everything with everything, all of it. They all went after the Netflix or streaming service TV shows. I think the streaming service TV shows, it was great for the first one or whatever.
For a minute.
But then when they came out with 20 more of them, it's just like I was already overwhelmed because I was so far behind on the Marvel movies. And me and my son sat down for like months straight and watched through all the movies.
You have to dedicate your life to it to know what's going on.
And then they started coming out with all these Netflix ones on top of that I have to watch in order to get the next film.
And the Netflix ones are kind of thrown away to the side now because now it's on Disney Plus, and they've got it doesn't necessarily work canonically, and it's an entire clusterfuck that seemed like they had a really big elaborate plan, but the plan was just make money at all costs.
Yes. Even if are they making money at this point? Because the amount of money they're pumping into these films with really awesome effects and shit, but so piss poor stories at this point.
And some of like Morbius and like Black Panther, there's some that even the effects, just like, they just don't care. They're like, give the rats what they feed on, and what did they feed on? Marvel and Star Wars. Give them that. Like, it doesn't matter who it is or what it is. And if you can get some brownie points by making it a Pakistani woman, even better.
But are people even feeding on it anymore? Since the original Avengers died, like, what was the last successful Marvel movie that you heard of, or last successful Marvel show that didn't center around the original Avengers?
Yeah. And even now, like with Deadpool, they're bringing Hugh Jackman back because they realize that they have nothing left to do. And they've talked about like bringing Iron Man back, Tony Stark back, Robert Downey Jr. It's like, we get it. You got nothing. You got nothing left. You got some creatives in the days where these weren't like super saturated markets. You have some creatives who did a thing, and then you squeezed those teats so raw and hard that there's literally nothing left. And you're like, can we replenish this cow right now? Because we have nothing left.
Then DC tried so fucking hard, and then they're like, let's get the cash cow from Marvel because Marvel's not doing shit anymore, and let's try to squeeze his teats even harder.
Yeah.
And see what we can get out of it. Has anything good come out of DC since that guy went over to DC?
I feel like nothing great has come out of either one in a very long time, save for definitely Joker. Like these offshoot ones, Joker, Spider-Verse, like the weird things that can stand alone because they're creative and doing the thing that sets them apart from just another thing, another one of the same thing. Like those things work, but when now they're working on Joker 2 and they've got Spider-Verse 2 and all this, and they're going to make their own new whatever universes, and it's just like, guys, just keep making new things instead. And
you know why who was the guy that went from Marvel over to DC?
Oh, I don't remember. James Gunn?
Yes. Do you know why they brought him on? And I'm fully convinced of this, is because they're prepping us for the merging of the two.
The blob. The desperation
DC,
blob.
DC versus Marvel. I won't even say trilogy. There's gonna be like 50 DC versus Marvel movies out there after 50 DC movies come out, because obviously we gotta have those first. But then we gotta have DC versus Marvel spin-offs too. That's why they hired James Gunn.
I like it, and it's gonna suck. But getting back to Disney and their downfall of the year, it also is a landmark.
The year just started.
I know, it's the 9th, and we've already lost Star Wars, and now Disney has lost Mickey Mouse, because according to NPR.org, so you know it's legit, Steamboat Willie is now in the public domain. What does this mean for Mickey Mouse? So basically, the original concept of Mickey from Steamboat Willie, where he's just the very simple, flat, animated, like no color or life in his eyes, just soulless and awesome. He is now public domain. This happened.
How did they allow this to happen?
Well, this has to happen. I think it's like a 50-year run for a copyright. Or whatever you call it.
Like you think they would do something to be?
They did.
Like,
they did 20 years ago.
Okay.
Disney petitioned, like the Supreme Court or something to extend it, and they got an extra 20 years. And then that 20 years just finally ran out, and they did not. Like a bunch of people were speculating that they would do it again, but they did not. And now the mouse is public domain. Do you know what happens whenever a beloved childhood character ends up in the public domain, Craig?
A horror movie.
Do you know what happens?
Yes, I do.
The worst filmmakers ever make it into a horror movie. Presenting, and we're not going to play this whole thing for copyright reasons, which would be ironic. This is the trailer for...
It's public domain. We should be allowed to play this.
For Mickey's Mousetrap coming in 2024, because fuck it, why not?
Because why not?
These are the best party that we can throw.
I've seen some rejections in my time, but man, that was a lot.
Okay, so it's like teens hanging out and doing degenerate teen shit, and then there's this.
Yeah, he's like completely in love with me already. It's totally disgusting.
Put the phone down! Put the phone down, please!
I was like, dude, I've already started. Gina, turn around, please, Gina!
I'll be right back. And he's dead.
You can jump ahead. Ah. The mouse is out.
Where the hell did he go?
Mickey's Mousetrap. We tried a little bit, and we'll make bank because it's fucking ridiculous. First off, I just want to say, I love that we live in the timeline where this stuff is finally starting to hit the fan and all the copyrights are coming down. Because, I mean, it's just going to be one after another. I think there's already a Peter Pan one that they're preparing for when that becomes public domain. And this just happened about a week ago that it hit the public domain, and they've already got this ready to go.
They've probably got a slew of them.
They were waiting for
already
it.
Just drop when the public domain, when it goes to the Winnie the Pooh one. I haven't seen yet. I was gonna watch it, but I couldn't find it, and I wasn't gonna pay for it on like Amazon Prime. So I don't remember why we didn't end up watching it. But good God, like.
I want them to try a little bit harder. Like, I like that it exists, but it's such a rushed hack job, no pun intended. But it's like he's just wearing a Halloween mask, like a Mickey Mouse Halloween mask. It doesn't look scary at all. And it's not like a big, like, towering, like, creature or anything. There's no blood. It's just a dude in a mask who kills them. If he didn't have the mask, it would be the same film, but they're going to make bank because it's Mickey's Mousetrap.
It's pretty much the Winnie the Pooh one, but with a different mask.
Yes. And that's all these are going to be because, they kind of have to be these horror movies because Disney could come after them for trying to make it seem like it's their brand. Even though it's public domain, if it seemed like they were trying to make a Disney film, then there could be some legal issues there. So the horror movie thing makes sense, but try a little bit. You have this golden opportunity. I understand why they're not trying, because they're going to make bank no matter what, because it's just so fucking ridiculous that it doesn't matter how good or bad it is. They're going to make bank off of it.
How many Sharknado movies did they come out with? And that was profitable.
Yeah, and it was great.
I never saw it, so I don't know.
I saw like the first one, and it was beautiful. Kate Paris says, fake super chat, why is nothing sacred? Can we leave it the fuck alone and maintain the magic of it? I don't necessarily agree.
This is.
Do you think it warrants magic and preservation, or for me, like the big middle finger to the House of Mouse is just a golden opportunity that I applaud anybody for taking advantage of.
If it was anybody else other than Disney, maybe I'd be like, oh, we can't ruin that. But the fact that it's Disney, I'm like, yeah, let's fucking burn it to the ground. Let's burn all the characters to the ground because Disney burned themselves to the ground, so we might as well help them out a little bit.
Yeah, they should. Them and their shareholders should be all for this because it's better than anything Disney's putting out, no matter how bad it is.
That's true.
Speaking of horror movie trailers, we got to talk about the Honorable Joseph Robinette Biden, which makes this makes this one of these.
And Corn Pop was a bigger big shot. Nazi fags. You ain't black. What a stupid son of a bitch.
It is Remembering Biden, where we come to remember all the things that Biden did because God knows that he will not remember them himself. So speaking of horror movie trailers, here is the latest horror movie trailer from the Biden administration. This is the election trailer, I assume. No.
Extremist movement.
Here we go.
There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy. All of us are being asked right now, what will we do to maintain our democracy? History's watching. The world is watching. And most important, our children and grandchildren will hold us responsible. The Vice President and I have supported voting rights since day one of this administration. And I ask every American to join me in this cause.
That's it. That's it. A couple things that I wanted to point out. The biggest threat to our democracy is these extremists that are voting for Donald Trump. So the biggest threat to our democracy
is voting.
Is 50+% of you motherfuckers.
Yes.
That keep getting Donald Trump elected or not elected. I also liked this clip here at the end. This is my favorite part.
President and I have supported
Hold on.
the Vice President and I have supported voting rights since day one of this administration.
This is a pre-record. He doesn't have to look at a camera, doesn't have to talk into a camera. He's just reading a script. They could have taken it as many times as they wanted. This is for the January 6th bad campaign ad, and that's still the best that they could get out of this guy.
And I have supported voting rights. The Vice President and I have supported voting rights since day one of this administration.
Vice President and I voted for the rights administration.
And you can tell they clipped it up. You can tell they cut it up, and that was the best they could get, even cutting it up. You can hear where they switch like clips.
Oh yeah.
Like where they cut the audio at least once in there, and that's still the best they could get. The clearest they could get was him saying that. Where is Joe Biden's stunt double at this point? Because they should.
They should have him on the audio, at least the audio versions.
Right.
Now, with obviously January 6th being the biggest and most dangerous threat to our democracy since 9/11 and possibly ever, I thought it was worth a mention that Ray Epps, a target of January 6th conspiracy theories, gets a year of probation for his Capitol riot role.
Oh, a year of probation?
A year of probation. You heard that right.
Okay.
The guy who was literally shouting, "We need to go into the Capitol. This is probably going to get me arrested. We need to go inside the Capitol." And a crowd of people around him were shouting, "No! Fed, Fed, Fed." That guy? You remember that guy? While everybody from Jake Chansley to Owen, what's his name? Dude on InfoWars?
I don't know.
Owen Schroyer, I think is his name. Like these people got like solitary confinement for wandering around and being peaceful, and Ray Epps gets less than a slap on the wrist. He's on probation for being. Now, I want to ask you, Craig, because I said it on Twitter today, and a bunch of people were calling me out and saying I was wrong. But this is literally the only person that I've personally ever heard directly incite the entrance to the Capitol at all. Have you heard anybody else say we need to go into the Capitol on any of the recordings? Yes, they went. But clear as day, this guy said it multiple times on multiple occasions.
No, and there's so many other things he did. He was, there was the big sign. There was like a big sign that they shoved at cops, and a bunch of people got charged with violence towards cops for shoving a sign in the direction of cops. And Ray Epps, like, there was people that just like reached their hand up like, "Oh, I don't want that to fall on my head," and they got jail time for that, for violence against a cop. And Ray Epps was one of the people shoving the sign towards them, and again, just got the probation. Didn't get freaking. The only reason he got the probation is because we've gone how many years now? My mic is like literally falling over. How many years now where people are like, "This guy, why is this guy not being charged? Why is he not in jail?" And they're like, "Oh, we're going to charge him. We're just going to give him probation. Hey, guys, we gave you what you wanted." And everybody else, like you said, is in prison or worse. There are people that got like 25 years or something like that for their role in it. And this guy is literally telling people, giving people the plan. Like, this guy was like wandering around the outskirts of a crowd at the Trump rally saying, "Hey," like there was this couple, there was this dude that said he was outside the circle smoking cigars with his buddies because they didn't want to be rude, as you know, terrorists are. They don't like to be rude and smoke in public. Like, terrorists wouldn't do that. So they stepped outside the circle and were smoking cigars where they wouldn't upset anybody. And Ray Epps, they specifically said Ray Epps came to them and said, Trump is giving another speech at the Capitol later today. So if you're not close enough here, go ahead and head towards the Capitol.
It's so bad.
And there was no plan, nothing of Trump. The only reason those people went to the Capitol is because Ray Epps told him that Trump was speaking at the Capitol. They're like, oh, well, since we're not very close, we'll just go up there and get a good spot and hear what's going on. This guy is clearly a fucking Fed. Like, he's done so much worse than, like, so much more than just say, let's go through the doors, let's storm the Capitol, let's head towards the Capitol, whatever. He did so much more than that. He was literally...
He did the most.
He was
At the very least, he did the most.
Yeah, he was steering people that had no intention. Like, all they wanted to do was hear Donald Trump speak. And he was steering those people to the Capitol to get this thing. Like, I don't know who this fucking guy is, but I don't think he's the mastermind, but he's clearly their marketing guy. Like, here, like,
he's clearly not an innocent bystander. Like,
no, and
a guy who, like, there are people who did nothing and were just there who have gotten more of a punishment than Ray Epps.
Let's put this in perspective. Donald Trump said, we're going to go to the Capitol and we're going to fight like hell. And that is enough
we're gonna
to impeach him.
Peacefully assemble.
Yes, that is enough to say, this guy incited this violence. We should lock him up forever. We should impeach him, lock him up forever, strip all his rights, blah, blah, blah. But Ray Epps was literally saying, we got to go in and fucking attack the Capitol. And the people that had no interest in doing that...
He did not say attack, to be fair. He did not say attack.
Okay, but still, you know what he was saying. He said so
well, I'm not
much
going
more.
to assume on him. I don't have to assume. Like, Donald Trump, as you said, did say fight like hell, but he also said we're gonna gather peacefully and patriotically, which they always cut out. Ray Epps did not say attack, but he did say we are going to go into the Capitol. Like, he said worse things than Donald Trump said.
Yeah, Donald Trump said, let's go to the Capitol. He said, let's go in the Capitol. And he
even
gets slapped
said,
with probation.
He even said, I'm not going to say this. I'll probably get arrested. And they're like, well, then don't say it. And he's like, no, I'm going to say it. And they're like, okay. He's like, we need to go inside. And like, what? No. Like,
Wait,
it's
no,
just
we
so...
don't need to do that.
Yes. Like, everything points to Fed. And then you've got people like AP News saying, like, even their headline, Ray Epps, a target of January 6th conspiracy theories. Like, they give him so much more, like, infinitely more benefit of the doubt than anybody who was there. Any single person, there or not there. If you say that it wasn't a terrorist attack to overthrow an election, you get less benefit of the doubt than Ray Epps does.
Well, obviously, because Ray Epps is some just outstanding citizen that we can't tarnish his reputation. I'm waiting for the lawsuits of Ray Epps to come out and be him like suing, I don't know, the conspiracy theorists out there, or the people that are just saying, hey, can we look at Ray Epps, just suing for defamation or whatever, because that would just be the best irony. I mean, it's got to happen.
Yeah.
The only reason he hasn't sued is because everybody knows we're all fucking right. But that doesn't usually
obvious.
stop him.
Right.
Yes.
And it's like, this is kind of like the Epstein thing, which we're going to talk more about the Epstein thing. We're going to talk more. I'm going to move a little bit of the politics to the back end of this, because we got to get to the Jew tunnels. But, here on the main, where it's less offensive, we got to talk about the Jew tunnels. But we're going to move some Vivek talk and some political talk to the back. But I don't remember where I was going with this. What was the last thing you said?
Ray Epps. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Nope.
He's a bad dude. And
Ray
he
Epps
runs with a lot of bad boys. And
Yes.
speaking of bad boys, here's a sponsor.
We live in a new age, and it's time for us to upgrade. Our tinfoil hats. Operation Tinfoil is a freedom-focused small business and trusted sponsor of this show. Their super comfortable new line of beanies and baseball caps will not only crown your skull in style, but each of these dome defenders is lined with a silver mesh that blocks up to 99% of EMF radiation from cell phone towers, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and yes, even 5G. We don't know what EMF radiation does to the brain long term, but neither do they, so don't be their guinea pig and don't wait around to find out. Get your stylish tinfoil hat of the future today at gettinfoil.com. Use the promo code SYSTEM for $10 off your order. Again, that's gettinfoil.com. Use the promo code SYSTEM for $10 off your order.
And we are back. So, let's get through a couple fake super chats here. JC says, fake super chat. Binders full of info were already confiscated from the Epstein files. We were left to gawk over made-up stuff like Stephen Hawking and midgets, which we will get into in the after party. Yes. Hawking was already dead anyway, which could be a whole episode of its own. The Bitcoin Bugle says, fake super chat. Kathleen Kennedy is great, and criticizing her is terrible. She would be a great chair of the Libertarian Party. No comment. Kate Paris says, fake super chat. Walt Disney created these characters. Yeah, I know.
And she said you're wrong. You forgot to post the one that she said you're wrong.
She said a lot of things. She did say I'm wrong. There it is. It's fine. Agree to disagree. We shall. Now, like I said, I did want to talk a little bit about some more politics. There's another debate happening for the GOP, which I thought it was ending at the third one, and then we had a fourth one, and now we have a fifth one coming up. Craig, have you been following any of these riveting debates?
Not at all. Not in the slightest.
Well, really, the only person worth watching is Vivek Ramaswamy, who has gone back and forth on some things at the beginning, but he's been solid and on point as of late.
Like Bill is like fallen madly in love with Vivek.
I'm not there. So, I don't necessarily trust him, but he's saying good things. Also, DeSantis is wearing platform shoes, and we all know that.
Well, DeSantis is scheduled to be dropping out of the race sometime this week.
Really? Because the next debate that's happening tomorrow is only Ron DeSantis versus Nikki Haley, and they have removed Vivek and the Honorable Governor Christie from the running.
Why?
I don't know. But speaking of the guy who's dropping out, go ahead. What?
I read in a book that DeSantis will be gone by the end of the week.
In a book?
I just read it was a movie quote. You missed it.
Mm-hmm. I don't watch movies.
It's from Dodgeball. You haven't seen Dodgeball?
I saw Dodgeball like 20 years ago.
So did I, and I still can quote it.
Great. Speaking of Ron DeSantis and washed up things, Ron DeSantis posted this to his Twitter. I signed legislation in Jerusalem designated to combat anti-Semitism in Florida. We stand with the Jewish people.
What?
Craig, your thoughts?
You signed legislation in Jerusalem to combat anti-Semitism in Florida?
Uh-huh.
What, did you just take your binder with your legislation? You're like, I'm going to do this in Jerusalem to make a bold statement that I stand with the Israelis? Or did he sign Israeli legislation? Like, I don't understand.
Well, at best, the anti-woke guy is saying, I signed legislation that will definitely affect your free speech.
Yeah.
In Florida. And he went to Jerusalem to sign such legislation.
Make a bold statement with the Jews.
Yep. Good job. I have a feeling he's not going to be a big fan of the rest of this show. So
Probably
if
not.
you're on board with Zionist Ron DeSantis, let's talk about the Jew tunnels. Craig, have you heard anything about the Jew tunnels?
I had to Google it just to see what you were talking about. I didn't read too deep because I wanted to do this live, but
great. It's a bold move. Real brave.
The conspiracy theorist in me says this screams of Pizzagate.
Uh-huh. You're getting it. Let me see here. So that there was a thing that happened in New York City. I think it was just last night or the night before. There was okay. From APnews.com, so you know it's legit. A secret tunnel in NYC synagogue leads to a brawl between police and worshipers. So in this synagogue, it was discovered that there is a tunnel, as you do, underneath the city, and to my understanding, it was discovered because some women in another building heard voices in the floors or something, in the walls. They were confused, and some people are speculating that this could be like drug rings or trafficking rings or what have you rings or something.
I like what have you rings the best.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I know that there are some people who just want to look for any reason to be angry at Jews, but there's some suspicious things here because it's not so to what we are told, the elders of this community and this synagogue, they found out about the tunnel, and they were trying to get the young bucks who dug this tunnel. It was apparently like the teenage boys who made this tunnel, and the elders were trying to get it shut down, and then the young bucks brawled because they didn't want it shut down. Now,
that's not what I read. I read that the young bucks were trying to get to the fucking bottom of it or something. And it was like, the way I perceived it from the very little I read, which means nothing at all, obviously, but it sounded like the tunnels were there, and these young bucks found out about it, and the city or the elders or somebody was like, "Oh, we got to fill this shit in." And to me, it's just like, oh, it sounded like they were trying to cover their tracks before the young bucks really found out about this shit.
Right.
Not like I didn't perceive it as the young kid, the brawlers were the ones that dug the tunnels. I felt it was more they found out about this shit and they're like, we're going to find out, we're going to really find out what's going on here, and they were trying to get through them, and they're like, hey, let's fill this shit in, and then they started to protest or something like that.
It could be. I mean, no matter who's at fault, no matter who knew in advance or didn't know or whatever, it's pretty suspicious. Like, it's not just that there was a tunnel and they were doing frat boy things and hanging out, and the elders didn't like that kind of seems to be where they're pushing the narrative from what I've seen. But if that's the case, like, when the cops invade, these guys start like a riot to try and stop them. The cops are there, they're busted, they know it. And they start a riot to try and stop it. Now, if it's just this harmless frat boy hangout pad with a man cave sign on the wall or what have you, why are they so upset that they would risk their life to try and stop them from going into the tunnels? And we're going to watch a couple videos here because this is the riot as it broke out as the cops were investigating. Tearing down the tape, plunging through, losing their shit. Tearing their own synagogue apart to get to it. Just going nuts. Like, did you think you were gonna stop them?
Right.
And if you did, what would that look like exactly? You overpowered the cops, and then you just get to keep your underground whatever ring?
Yeah. There's something weird going on here.
There's something very weird, and that's really all we know. Here's a video of a Jewish man crawling out of a sewer drain. And
that's normal.
Yeah, just it's broken, busted out, and it's down in the tunnel that he's coming out of. And as you can see, he like hides his face and he shoves the camera away from filming him. You know, because it was just like a frat boy hangout.
Right. Yeah, because anytime these young whippersnappers decide to like hang out and spray paint things, they're like, let's cause a riot to keep the cops from seeing what's in here versus oh shit, we got to run and get out of here so we don't get arrested.
Yeah. There was another video.
That would be the initial response. That would be the response if this was just a bunch of teenagers just having a hangout spot. They decided to dig a tunnel, which teenagers do. As you know, pothead smoking teenagers do. When the cops come in, they're like, let's beat the shit out of the cops versus run. Let's get the fuck out of here so we don't get arrested.
You scatter.
Yeah, like cockroaches.
In one of these videos that I can't seem to find currently, but it's out there. You can find it. Here's an image from it.
But Dan can't find it.
One of the things that they hauled out was this mattress that clearly has a large stain on it.
Oh, I thought the bloody mattress was just an anti-Semitic freaking
It's not.
conspiracy theory.
I mean, is it blood or is it shit? I don't know, but there's definitely a large stain on this, and if only it was just a crazy conspiracy theory. Let's see, this one might. Where's the mattress? The video exists. I saw it once. But that happened, and so that leads to speculation of trafficking and stuff. I don't know for sure what happened. Still, just giving way too much benefit of the doubt here. They had dirty mattresses in a hallway in the basement that they really, really, really didn't want the cops to find for some reason. Probably
Would you want the cops to find out that you shit the bed?
No, I would fight to my death to make sure that the cops did not know that I shit my tunnel bed. There's another video that came out, and I can't confirm that any of these, well, I mean, those obviously are real, but this one in particular, it seems to be real, and it's inside the tunnel, which JC a minute ago said something about. Nope, where'd it go? I think it was JC. Somebody said something about, did anybody think to investigate? Oh,
yeah, JC
here we go. No one was allowed to go in there and investigate. Allegedly, this is that investigation. And let me know if anything stands out to you in this video. There's no audio, so we'll talk over it. But this just looks like your normal dingy Jew basement, and or anybody's basement. I don't want to discriminate. But then there's this very narrow stairway down further where things get even creepier, and there's tile walls but dirt floor. So is the dirt floor from where they dug out, or were they hiding something? I don't know, but there's clothes everywhere. Do you see that? What's that look like to you, Craig?
Where at?
Right there on the left.
A car seat?
It's a high chair.
A
high chair. The thing that you put babies in to feed them in this dungeon. And then moving along,
maybe they're just storing their old stuff down there.
Some deep-ass storage. And they seem really passionate about making sure the cops didn't find their code violations. But, what's this? It gets creepier. And we go through the brick wall and find an actual tunnel that is to, I don't know where, but as we're told, it goes to like the women's, I don't know if it's like the synagogue shelter or camp for women, or I don't know how this works, but something to do with the women that heard them or something when they got that close. But I don't know. What do you think, Craig? You're the one from the beginning of this. You said you looked into it for like 5 seconds and you were instantly like Pizzagate vibes. And, Pizzagate was obviously a hoax because that basement doesn't exist that had all the pizza shop that had all the very creepy artwork and all the creepy bands that were all very pedophilic sounding in name and art. And the basement doesn't exist, whether it had a basement door or not. But I don't know. What do you think of this, Craig?
I mean, the timing of it seems so bad. We got elections coming up.
CZ Arangelis says child-sized mattress if you compare it to the size of the adult bodies.
The timing, we got elections coming up. We've got this fucking war in Israel. And
Ron DeSantis is doing his best.
Yes. Like on one side I want to be like, are we stretching this? But on the other side, it's just like, what could this fucking be? Like, what are these tunnels if not like Pizzagate was all a big fucking conspiracy hoax because we were accusing the elitists of having or the politicians, the elite politicians, from having a pedophile freaking tunnel system underneath the town. But what was the polygamous sect that they raided back 12 years ago that had like tunnels in the walls, and they were like, oh yeah, they're definitely pedophiles, they got tunnels in the walls, and these are a creepy cult, so obviously they're pedophiles. But this one's obviously a crazy conspiracy theory because this is our politicians and they want to do shit like that, and this can't be true because these are the Jewish people and we can't say anything bad about them, obviously. So and I even read the 15 seconds that I read, it immediately went to a right-wing anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists are like, they said, who's the former Fox News guy?
Chucker Carlson.
Yes, Chucker Carlson.
Trucker Carlson.
Trucker Carlson. Yeah, they're like Tucker Carlson are instantly going to this anti-Semitic, like Zionist conspiracy theory shit, and it's just like, but the fact of the matter is, it's in a Jewish synagogue. When there's a shooting at a black church, we automatically assume the guy was probably racist. When there's like a weird tunnel system in a Jewish synagogue that we can't explain and it's really creepy, we gotta come to terms with the fact is,
it's just
these were
outside
Jewish
of our
people.
culture, you know.
I guess it's like,
just like how they cleansed the circumcisions.
But that they actually included that in that article as being part of the crazy anti-Semitic conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm. I've seen videos.
So, you're just an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist, though.
Yeah.
Your eyes deceive you because you're so anti-Semitic. You're such a Nazi. Your eyes deceive you. You weren't actually, what you were seeing wasn't actually what it was.
Probably. That's usually the case, but it's usually the case that I'm so anti-Semitic that it just clouds my judgment. But what I do know is that like, even if you take the very creepy tunnel video out of it, like, these kids and adults were like ready to risk their lives to keep the cops from arresting a guy or two, or is it just
the other part I noticed was they pinned this on, they didn't say the word extremist sect of the Jewish culture, but they pretty much were implying that this was, so it was like, if they don't buy the fact that this is just anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, then we can fall back on the fact that this was just this extremist fact of this sect of Judaism, and it's not all Jews, it's just these extreme ones. So it was interesting how they were covering all their bases in case you didn't buy the very surface level, this is just anti-Semitism. But then it's just like, well, if you kind of plow past that with very little effort, then it's like, well, you realize we did tell you that this was this extremist sect of them. So it's not them. It's
just in case more information comes out. We just want to let you know that these people are pretty extreme too. Patrick Leisner says, has anyone attempted to come up with a reasonable and rational reason for the tunnels? There has been some people that I've seen saying, well, this is obviously just because they weren't allowed to worship during COVID, and so that's why these tunnels exist. And
oh, so we're falling back on COVID now too.
Yep.
Just blame COVID for it. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
They built them back in 2020 when they weren't allowed to gather in synagogues.
That makes sense.
Which that would make a lot more sense 4 years ago. But now, why are they so concerned about it being found? Again, is it just because of the building codes? Is it just because of the safety hazards that they're risking their lives to attack cops to keep them from going down in their little Jew dungeon? I mean, I didn't make the Jew dungeon. They did. So it is what it is. Yeah.
True. The Jews made the Jew dungeon.
Kate Paris says fake super chat. FLDS raid. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
You don't have to keep reading all of Kate's super chats.
I read all of my fake super chats.
Oh, okay.
Whether I find them pretty or not. Now, we're gonna end on a happier note, and then we're gonna jump over to the after party for a little bit more party after.
I don't know if I can stick around for the after party.
You son of a bitch.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long it goes.
APnews.com, so you know it's legit. Exploding toilet at Dunkin'. Come on, switch over. Switch over so I'm not crazy. Exploding toilet at a Dunkin' store in Florida left a customer filthy and injured. Lawsuit
Now,
claims.
did the toilet explode or did the customer explode into the toilet?
Well, it says exploding toilet. Let's find out.
Is that terrorism or is that just hilarious?
Yes. Two things can be true. Orlando, Florida, a customer has filed a negligence lawsuit against Dunkin', claiming he was injured by an exploding toilet at one of the coffee chain's locations in Central Florida. Paul Cura something is seeking more than seeking more than $100,000 in a lawsuit filed Wednesday in state court in Orlando, claiming he suffered severe and long-term injuries following the explosion of a toilet in the men's room of a Dunkin' location.
How does a toilet explode based on negligence
shit
of
up?
the company?
I don't know. But somebody's got to pay for this shit.
Obviously.
The lawsuit says Kuruak suffered bodily injury and he has required mental health care and counseling since the incident in January 2022.
PTSD from being exploded and shit.
Is it like a Vietnam type flashback thing where you can't sit on a toilet without freaking out a little bit?
I mean, what do you do if that is the case, though? Like,
when the toilet blows up?
If you have such bad PTSD over a toilet explosion that you can't sit on a toilet anymore. I mean, that not even the PTSD, just the fact that you cannot get yourself to shit anymore because of it. That is mental anguish there.
Yeah. Now, does he just like poop in the woods? Does he poop in his yard? I don't know.
Does a bear shit in the woods?
Yes. If that's where he lives, I would imagine so. Yeah, so keep an eye out on Dunkin'. Make sure they have no tunnels, no toilets of danger, and be safe out there. Keep your ass covered. And if you need your ass covered, go to LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com. If you've been injured on a Dunkin' Donuts toilet, go to Lone Star Injury Attorneys. I'm pretty sure it's .com.
I think I can safely say I've never shit out of Dunkin' Donuts before.
I have not either. Craig, do you got any time for a little bit of after party?
What time is it?
We have to talk about Stephen Hawking's biggest turn on.
I'll stick around. If you do Stephen Hawking first, I'll stick around for that. I did want to point out, speaking of psyops and stupidity, I watched another movie this week. It was called... Shit, what was it called? Hang on, let me look it up. It was... The greatest part of it was... And I swore to myself I would never watch any of these, but it was one of the Obama media productions.
Mm-hmm.
God, what's it called?
Be Sad White Man.
Leave the World Behind.
Mm-hmm.
It's got... So this is... You know how Obama works. Like, he actually has such a genius brain that he can, like, think of these great ideas for movies rather than just put his name on a production company and get people to watch shitty movies.
Right.
Because his name's on it.
We know he's a big-time filmmaker.
Now, this sounded interesting. This is the only reason I watched it. And then I read that Obama's name was on it. I was like, shit, I don't know if I want to watch this. But it was called Leave the World Behind. And it was... The plot just sounded like something I would be into. It was like if the internet shut down and how bad things would get, and like planes would be crashing and smart cars shutting down and people like looting, and just the premise sounded fantastic. I was like, even though I know this is an Obama fucking film, I'm going to watch this. And I watched it, and I was highly disappointed.
Shocking.
Yeah. Ended terribly. They didn't weed in as much racism as I thought they would, but you could pick up on the subtle hints of racism. Because so the story starts, this like kind of rich couple, Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke were the main couple. And they go on this vacation or whatever and get this like mansion type Airbnb, which you know how rich people just rent out their houses on the Airbnb. So they're just kind of hanging out there. Well, at one point, like things start getting crazy, like a boat crashes, like a big oil tanker crashes on the beach, and they're trying to figure out what the hell happened, and then things are getting weird. Well, this black guy knocks on the door with his black daughter, and they open the door, and they're like, "Oh, can we help you?" And he's just super vague. He's just like talking really vague. I'm like, maybe even as a white dude, you're showing up at like 11 o'clock at night when things are getting weird already. Maybe you should just cut to the chase. Like, get to the point of what you're there for. And people wouldn't be suspicious of you. That's not a black thing or a white thing or a Chinese. If
Don't show up unannounced
door,
on somebody's door in the middle of the night.
On a normal night, either. On a normal night, you don't do that. Especially on a night where, hey, things are kind of really fucking weird right now. You just show up on the door and you have a vague conversation. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm so-and-so. And he's just like, for like 3 minutes is just chatting. And he finally gets to the point. He's like, I own this house. And Julia Roberts looks at him and she's like, you own this house? I'm like, there it is. There it is right there. That's the subtle racism that I expect from an Obama film. But
yeah, was that it? Because I've got this clip. Here's a clip from Leave the World Behind.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, there was this too.
I'm
I
asking
forgot
for
about
you
this.
to remember that
That's his daughter, by
if
the
the
way.
world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people. Even
Yes,
Mom
I
would
forgot
agree
about
with
that
me
clip
on that.
Subtle, Craig. It's real subtle.
Okay,
If
it
the
was
world
subtle
falls
up
apart,
to
don't
that
trust
point.
white folk. And yeah, he's
That was his daughter,
being
by the
real
way,
Hunter
which-
Biden with his daughter there.
Yes. So, and then it got to the end. It got to the point where they just starting to kind of put the piece together and figure out what the fuck's going on. That no, it's not terrorism. Do you mind if I spoil this? Do you mind?
I don't give a shit. You brought this up like as I was closing, so go right ahead and spoil whatever your dipshit movie you're talking about.
So they're like, they run into Kevin Bacon, who's obviously a prepper type, and they all think, because they got like pamphlets in Iranian, and then this Kevin Bacon guy, who's a freaking prepper, he's like, well, so-and-so told me that they got the same pamphlets in Korean, so we're being, and they're like, oh, we're being attacked on multiple fronts, like our enemies have joined forces. He's like, no, you don't understand. And he pretty much says that it's our government kind of doing this thing to us and making us turn on ourselves and stuff. And so they're just fucking figuring it out. And I'm like, all right, it's starting to get good. They're going to figure it out and something's going to happen. And then the movie just ends. And it was done. It was just like, it was pretty much Obama saying, this is going to happen and you're not going to do a fucking thing about it. And I was like, it's probably
So
the
it's foreshadowing
situation.
and predictive
Yes.
programming. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad we could end it on a cheery note. Dunkin' Donuts exploding toilet and Barack Obama's exploding movie coming to a home near you very soon. Craig, you got any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug or promote, or any last wishes?
I have nothing to plug. I have nothing to promote.
Last
except
words?
My show. Check out the Break the Bell podcast.
Oh God.
We've been pretty lazy.
These are your last
lately.
words as the world ends. You're like,
As the world
check
ends.
out my
Check
podcast,
out my
bro.
podcast. I'll probably I'm gonna find a ham radio and be like freaking Will Smith on that one movie that he's in, where the zombie movie he's in.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. Yes, and I'm just going to broadcast from a ham radio if the world ends at some point. That's just what I'm gonna do, and nobody's gonna listen then either.
Mhm.
So it's gonna pretty much my life's just gonna stay the same.
You could just call
Break the
Mom
Bell podcast
and tell her all the things that you've been watching lately.
Do that. Our handle is at Break the Bell Pod on things, on the social medias. You can find us at Break the Bell Pod on those things.
Yeah, and
Listen
thanks for being here, Craig. And
this has been a great episode of the Break the Bell podcast.
As somebody who has already informed the listening audience that he's going to bail at any minute and decided to drop in a Barack Obama movie review at the very end. Let's see how long this after party lasts, but I'm going to get through several things, including Deadly Butter, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, and his SmackDowns. We're going to talk about, let's see, some Trump cringe things, really cringe, in case you thought that I was a Trump supporter. And then, of course, at the very end, we're going to talk about Stephen Hawking and his sexual proclivities. That is all for today on this main episode. Tune in to the Downers Club at patreon.com/thesystemIsDown. Craig doesn't know it, but it's going to be streaming to his channel as well.
I'm fine with that.
Thank you all for being here, and
I do know that.
We'll see you after the apocalypse is over, probably. And until then, question everything, stand comfortable, and good luck.
The Jews caused Pizzagate.
Good night.
Welcome to the system, everyone's a victim. Doesn't matter if you're black or white, it hates you all. Here inside the system, violence is a symptom. Fighting for what's right, but somehow everyone is wrong.